Again, not scrubbing, just gently wiping, especially this old leather. Now, like I say, what we're going to do is condition this at some point. Like I say, let this dry really good, and then we'll go from there. It doesn't take long to dry, but just let it dry, let it cure in that leather, and then we'll come back and do the snap. A lot of this glossiness you're seeing right now will as it soaks into the leather, that glossiness will go away. It won't look like we spray painted or like, again, like we shoe polished the leather. It'll kind of soak in and be a little bit more matte, a little less sheen. And we'll come back in just a bit. So here we are back with this sheath. We've let it dry thoroughly. I'm gonna wipe it down. Like I said, we're gonna wipe it down and condition it. There's our fix. There's the new leather in there. You can bend it, it's pliable. That's one thing, like I say, using a thin enough piece where it's still pliable with the old leather. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lay this here, and then where that old rotted out sheath was, we're gonna put it here, give it a nice little tap, because we want just a tap, like I said. See where that button needs to go. Sometimes you can just wallow it or kind of wallow it around back and forth. Here we go. So we've got a little hole here. I've got my hole punch. Making sure it's all lined up. There we go. There's that piece of leather. Sometimes with these leather punches, you have to kind of finagle around with them. This is one from Tractor Supply. And again, hopefully we got enough of the shank there that we can get this through. We may not. Oh, I think we do. I think we do. All right, here we go. Again, this just keeps my snap. I'm gonna go ahead and make sure you have that buck centered in this case, because this is the kind of sheath that I'm working on. Because once you get this thing on here, you're not going to be moving it around a lot. With a regular snap, you can kind of twist it in the hole. But this is a special case. And there we go. And then I just take a punch here. Just give it a tap. Well, that wasn't enough tang, enough of a shank left on there. So that's not going to work. But I've got more snaps. So what's happened, even though I've tried to preserve this old buck snap, sometimes it works. There just wasn't enough shank to do it properly where it would actually hold. So I have another snap here. This one's kind of an antiqued nickel here, so it won't look too new on here. I'm gonna drop it right in that hole, which of course it fits perfect. And then I am going to take the old back portion of the snap. Let me clean that out a bit, because it will fit this other side here. We want to make sure our snaps fit correctly. There's some of the old shank left in there. Kind of blow that out there. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and put this right here. This will hold the snap nice and in place, keep you from putting a dent or a bevel. I do use these metal punches. I like the way it flares and spreads the end. Give it a tap. Let me flare that in just a little bit more. I will say, here we go, and give it a tap. I did put a hard surface under here. Sorry, I keep bumping that stand. See, that flared it out nicely. Then I'm gonna get the flat side of my punch here. And there we go. That's that new snap. Go ahead and snap it here. Looks like a pro. So see, that extended the life of that slip, because this part of the leather was actually good. It wasn't dry rotted like some of the other leather was. The leather right around the snap always seems to rot out. Again, this will patina and age. I'm going to actually put some buffing polish on it. But here's the old snap. That part is the old snap, and there's the new. But you see how flush that settled in there. Now I'll show you a trick on how to kind of backfill this in. There's a little bit of glue there still, texture. But anyway, there we go. That extended the life of that sheath. I think I said slip earlier there. The knife is tight in there, but not overly tight. You know, it's perfect. It looks good. You can burnish the edges if you want. We can do that. We can, you know, it's just how far you want to go with it. We will go ahead and burnish these edges a little bit. And if you're wondering what this is, it is, again, some shoe polish. I get it good and rubbed in there. There are burnishing creams out there. And again, if you were doing a lot of leather work, I would highly recommend investing in stuff like that. But when you're just trying to fix an old sheath like this one, I'm trying to just show you a way how to do it with things you have laying around your house. And I had this shoe polish laying around there, and I'm sure many of you do. You know, it's good to go ahead and use some things you have. Now I'm going to use my burnishing stick, but you can use something with a smooth, rounded edge, preferably, you know, a beveled edge that you have laying around your house. Now what that is, I don't know, but I'm going to show you my burnishing stick here. Let me find it. Here it is. Here's mine. Of course, mine came from Hobby Lobby as well. So what you want to do is I just work that polish in to the edges. I'm not pressing real hard. Again, working with leather, it's not a strength game. You're just working it in there, you know, beveling those ends over. That polish actually does moisten and soften that leather up a little bit. And see, that rounded edge actually gets in here and softens it over. And of course, that was one reason when I was showing you earlier with the belt sander about beveling this backside. By doing that, see, I've created a softer edge, just a beveled over edge. You don't want those hard edges. You can do it with sandpaper too. That was one thing I didn't mention earlier, is if you have sandpaper, a sanding block, I've even used a fingernail file, one with different sides. I'm gonna add a little more. So see, there's a little bit of where you can see the glue there. Again, just get a little more of this black polish. Work it in there really good, right along your welt. You know, think about your boots, especially when you're in the military. Any of you guys that have been in the military or law enforcement, what do you use? You use shoe polish. So I figure if all those things are good enough for then, they're good enough now. What you can use is, here I have a screwdriver. And a lot of times a screwdriver will have like a curved edge. See, I don't know if you see that. So that's another way, kind of like a burnishing tool. You can use the edge of that screwdriver, and I'm sure you have an old Craftsman. It has a slightly rounded, beveled edge. See, I'm kind of coming in at an angle. And there we go. And let me show you one other trick. The best thing after burnishing is taking an old piece of denim. These are jeans that I bought from Walmart that fell apart in 3 months. Now I use that denim. I actually like to lay it across my knee and just polish it up a bit. That way you're using up that old denim, but it's something about the texture. It's kind of like this. This is of course, this is some kind of fibers, nylon hairs. But you can use that as well. But again, I like to use old denim. But there you go. There's your patch. I'm gonna take a little of that and work that right in around that snap. That way you create a moisture barrier between moisture getting in that old leather and the new leather. Well, actually around the old leather, the dry rotted part, you know what I'm talking about. And I'm just kind of working that in. Got my shoe brush here. This is literally an old brush, an old Stanley brush. And normally I like to work on my lap. Just work with it right in my lap. But just for today's purposes, I decided to just do it right here. But anyway, that's it. That's the patch. That's the repair. Here's the knife. And that's it. This will be serviceable for a while, for a number of years. Actually, now that we've patched this and it's fully dried, I mean, it's solid. There's your burnishing right there on the edge. If you wanted to, and the reason I didn't do this is because to run this piece of leather all the way into here, that would have thickened this area that comes over the butt of the knife there so much that it would have moved the positioning of that snap. Again, if it was so thick right here, when it comes across that knife, you would have to actually have to move the positioning of snap. But doing it this way, the reason I chose to do it this way is so that way that the spacing is the same. You know, you're not creating too much thickness coming over the knife, and then that further puts stress down here where the snap is, because it's having to stretch over the knife. Because this is old leather, but it's good and conditioned. Again, now you can go over it with mink oil, anything like that. I did condition it here a little bit, but like I say, condition it. You know, the dye. Again, push come to shove, you can use some shoe polish type leather dye. Hey, if it was good enough for the military and police, it's good enough for this. And this, and then of course this is just black polish. Again, the burnishes that burnish the edges, and that has some beeswax in it, and it has color. So again, this thing feels good, looks good. It'll last a long time, and this is something you can do yourself. You know, I'd go ahead and go for it. And any of these old sheaths, because again, this knife, this is an older buck. This isn't one of the first ones, but this is that mid period, I think early 70s, late 60s, early 70s. You know, it's worth saving, it's worth keeping. Also, they did the Western style buck, which we lost a little of the U there because of where the dry rotted area was. But that's what I couldn't remember, or just those Western style rodeo type letters, the buckaroo kind of look. But anyway, good project, a way to save an old sheath, and again, make it last for many more years. But I hope this helps. I'm trying to do some more instructional videos, and again, I'm trying to use kind of things that I have laying around. I did pull out the belt sander, but I'm trying to use some things I have laying around. Just like, again, do you have to have a burnishing stick? No. You can use a screwdriver, like with the curved end part, just like that. A lot of the things that I used early on when I was working with leather was just objects that I had laying around the house that were approximations of those real tools. Anyway, again, jump in, don't be afraid. Again, old piece of leather. You can also salvage a piece of leather off some old boots or something too to fix a sheath. You don't have to go out and buy leather. Just get creative with it. But anyway, the main thing is probably the leather glue. And you can also use, there's this type of epoxy, which you want to be real careful with that, because it sets up faster, much faster than this does. This does have some drying time, and it does give you a chance to move that leather around, especially it being old leather. And anyway, have a great day. This is Stephen Jeffrey from SJ Relics signing off.